Um, First of all, there are many areas which we are going to discuss. 5 areas which we are going to discuss based on your expertise and professional career. The first is education practice, which also which also includes innovation in education. The second one is mentorship. Third is startup culture. The fourth one is technology. And the fifth one is corporate. So I tried to take it step by step, starting from education and then moving to startups, mentorship, then startups, and then the next step is corporate.
Okay.
So the first thing I was interested in was that due to this AI, digitalization, all the websites that are offering skill programs, even degrees, online degrees, e-learning as we call it, how is it disrupting the traditional method of providing education? In other words, how is education evolving in this digital era?
Yeah, I think it's an amazing topic in general, and it's amazing to observe how many changes are happening now through education. And I've been observing this since, I think, 13 years now. Yeah, I started in 2012, my career in education, and I see how much technology impacts it. And you can think about so many layers, how it's been changing. First, it changed how we consume knowledge, how we consume education. So this is something that we all can see from the user perspective, which it used to be an era which we all know, and probably me and you were using the same things like Udemy, Coursera, or other tools to just get online courses and just to enroll in courses and learn new things and adapt. And now we are more facing into technology such as AI, which will be even more massive and make this education approachable and democratized as such, because you can also personalize the way you teach and the way you learn and the way you teach other people. So how it is changing, I think it depends on the angle you look. One, it's from the teacher's perspective, that the way they facilitate the educational process changes, and how it changes also the way they prepare, for example, for the classes. And also the fact that, at least in Poland now, there is this huge debate whether the homework is even necessary, right? Because I've talked with my sister recently, who's also a teacher, and she said that there is no point in giving any homework anymore if somebody will do it with the ChatGPT, right? So even the way you evaluate, we used to think about learning and education and evaluating it by the effect. So whether you passed the test or not, whether you know the answer or not. But now we are thinking more in a process. So how you learn, how is this process facilitated? What skills you're using to learn that process? So I think this has been changing massively. So also the way you get your information. So the fact that there is also a lot of fake news and a lot of information which are not correct, and that is why now school and then basically in education we have to focus really, really much in developing skills like critical thinking, because you can research everything you want in Google. You can ask ChatGPT whatever question you want. And we notice that it's getting better and better with every week, because it's being, updated with the data. Though if you're expert in something and you ask AI, you see that some questions are not correct, the answers are blurry, but if you're not an expert, you just take it as for granted. You just understand that it is how it should be, or you really rely on it. So the critical thinking is now crucial, I think. And I think the being in education now it's the best time. It's that is why it's my passion. I think it's just education, to be in the education here and now when there's so many changes. It's just the best moment, because everything is going to be everything is transforming. So it's just like our system were designed for the previous industrial revolution. Now everything will be changing. Now the way we learn, the way we do the homework, what we study, how we study, whether, for example, that we just use the digital tools to support and facilitate the process. So there will be huge change that requires many skills we need to learn as educators, but also as learners, but also to all these new skills that we need to incorporate. We have to keep the basics. We have to keep the, the fact that we're just interested, the natural curiosity that we have, in learning things. I don't know.
So I think it's exciting because it is disruptive.
Yes, a lot.
That may be one way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was having a conversation with the person. He has a daughter in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And he said that, and that is of course Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
So he said that my daughter asks me, Dad, why do I need to study this? I'm not interested in this. I do not want to become a mathematician or scientist. I want to study art. So why is this education system forcing me to study these things? So do you think that once this digitalization kicks in fully, we'll discover later how much it has already kicked in Poland. But once it kicks in, this generation, what do you think would be the role of this generation, which questions everything and which is raised with smartphones in its hand?
Yeah, yes.
And it has a lot of critical thinking already to deal with.
You mean the alpha generation who's now like few years old?
Yeah.
Or 10 years old?
I was reading that it's, I suppose, after 2001, born after 2001. So that's the alpha generation.
I think the question that this girl asked is the question that probably also we asked in our school, right? Why we have to learn maths, why we have to do this, why we have to do that if we're not really interested in it. And many of us later realized that knowing the general stuff or the general knowledge, logical thinking is crucial, and maths is very important in life, for example. So it's not only about whether you like it or whether you learn something or not, but how you learn it. Is it practical? Is it applicable? Is it based on case studies or use cases? Like when you know why you need it, why you learn that. That's the other thing. So I think it will be still valid. What will be the role of this generation? I do think it's just like Generation Z or even millennials, but Generation Z probably, they are so natural to technology, so they will not even think in different terms. It's just so obvious to them. So there were some research. There was some research done where I've heard that from one of the Polish professors who was dealing with AI, Professor Przegalińska, and she mentioned that the kids treat, for example, Siri or other AI tools like real humans, like something that is their friend, like something very natural. It's not typical to us, right? We know this is a piece of technology. We don't develop this personal relationship with this
and
thing.
It's collecting a lot of data.
Yeah, it does. So it probably can become kind of our friend. And of course, there are already apps, for example, for your mental health, right? To help you to, if you cannot get the special treatment, or if it's hard to sign up for therapy or something, at least at the basic level, then you can talk to them. But I do think also that there's one quote, there are two things I have on my mind when you mentioned that question. There was a really cool graphic where there are two pictures. One is different colors of paint put in different boxes, and it's called school. And then you have all these different colors mixed together, randomly, and there's the sign, it's life. So that's the difference between school and life, that it's all mixed together. And you will still need different skills, and you will have to combine the skills somehow. So even if this generation will be totally native and will see AI as a part of their education, as something very natural, that they will have assistants who are bots or who are robots or who are some type of AI or which are some type of AI, still the fact of being able to work and learn with other people, with other human beings, will be crucial. This is something that it's not, I believe, that easy to replace. Because even now, for example, I work a lot with students starting from 17 years old up, to help them choose their career and to help them choose what they want to study and how to link it with the labor market or with their natural predispositions. And I also have a module in the course how to talk with how to use GPT as your career advisor, as a partner, right? That means technically they wouldn't need me, right? Because if they can just ask an AI, so why would they come? And they are coming because it's not the same. It's still, it has to be somehow supervised. You want to have this human touch.
There has to be some subjectivity into it.
Yeah, definitely. And there was the second thought I had in my mind when you were asking this question, that once I've heard a really, really cool sentence from one of the deans at Polish universities, private universities, Koźmiński University, and he said, we are all talking about AI all the time, and artificial intelligence, but let's focus on our intelligence first. And I thought this is a really, really brilliant idea, because we are thinking about how to feed algorithms, how do algorithms think, what data we put there, but we don't kind of realize, or we forgot that the biggest algorithm we have here and the most important one, and it also has to be fed, and nothing replaces that. And the things we can create, our own imagination, is nothing that you can copy. And we also have to feed, our own algorithms. And that relates, for example, to these videos you made about reading books and why it's important, right? Or you have to cultivate what you have here already, because that's the most powerful tool.
So I believe what I understand from this is there are some things that AI, technology, etc. cannot do, and let's call it skills.
Mm-hmm.
So do we see knowledge replacing skills replacing knowledge?
That's a good question.
Which in other words is degrees becoming more skill focused, and traditional knowledge-based degrees, which in Pakistan, for instance, rely on a lot of memorization, unnecessary memorization. Like we were speaking about general knowledge to qualify for certain exams.
Oh, okay.
So do you think the skills are replacing degrees?
Skills are
Generally,
degrees.
Maybe in Poland, maybe in Pakistan, generally speaking.
It's a very good question, actually. When I think about it, it's hard to have one without the other, actually, in a sense, because let's imagine the situation when you have the skills, maybe this way. You get skills in practice, right? That is why sometimes we have problem with the universities, which are designed in a very theoretical way. So the more applied universities have, the more cooperation between the sectors and the people from business or academia, business, academia, or NGOs or public sector working together, the better, because that brings more diversity and it makes education more applicable and more applied. There is a lot of potential in theory itself, because gives you, like, it teaches you how to learn and how to think logically and how to think critically. For example, I remember when I had a course on logic when at the university for 1 year, and Latin, and I thought, why I would have that? I don't use that on a daily basis. I'm learning logic and I'm learning Latin, but that was crazy how much it helped me later, because I understood some patterns on meta level. So then I could master my skills also, and I can use this meta level knowledge, general knowledge, to actually develop my skills. So in a sense that, well, I always tell the mentees I work with that the course you choose at the university is not your profession, because the profession, there are way more professions, way more jobs than there are courses in the world. Though every year there are new courses added, every university now, because especially if they are switching their thinking to more like client-oriented, when you understand that education is a product, it's not something like, oh, you just have whatever, but you actually can choose, and that creates competition. Then you can actually understand that this is a wide range of different options, but still, that doesn't mean that A equals B, that if you go to psychology, you're a psychologist, that if you go to medicine, you have to be a doctor. So I would like us to think in a term to, like, one is the degree, and another thing is the professions we take, which can be different, and the skills we are gaining through various experiences in life. But sometimes the degree is crucial in order to do the job, because I don't know if I would like to, for example, have a builder to build a bridge who has no idea about maths and physics, right? Or doesn't know how to calculate, or I don't know, medical doctor who doesn't know about the human body. But of course, now it will be much more important to understand where to find knowledge than to memorize it. Because where to find knowledge and understand the terms and theory behind it is crucial, but it doesn't have to be about memorizing it all.
That's the basic error. I'm not sure. We'll discover what's going on in Europe and Poland. But that's the basic error here.
Yeah.
A lot of memorization. Because if the data is in front of you, then you need to memorize. I have notes over here. I don't need to memorize the questions.
Yeah.
So this is why we have writing and invented.
Yeah. It's very important to really not to the problem with Polish school usually, and other schools as well, I think it's just something natural to many systems. I see, especially in Central Europe, is that you go to school, but nobody teaches you how to learn. But they ask you to learn things. They want you to memorize things. Whether how to learn, it's a skill itself, and there are many techniques. And this is something that should be like a subject at school, because later on you will have to learn and unlearn so many times now that it's unbelievable.
For instance, you just said where to find knowledge is more important than the knowledge itself. Moving to mentorship and career planning section, the second section. Starting with your career journey. How has been your personal career journey? Has it been very directed and focused, or it was zigzag?
It was zigzag, totally. And now I used to have a problem with that for a while, that, it wasn't as clear. After you graduate, then you know what to do, and then you have one corporate job, then you have another corporate job, and then it's so clear and obvious.
It's not like that.
It's not like that. And the life is not like that. And I wish somebody told me that when I was 19. I think that is why I'm so much into mentoring in general, because, you don't have... It's much easier if you know these things earlier. You don't have to discover them.
Happens to everyone.
Exactly. And it's so normal to switch and change, right? I never knew what I wanted to do, in the sense that there were so many options. And it wasn't even a problem of not knowing what, but there were so many things that are interesting, and how to choose things which are really, really interesting, which you want to do, right? So it was really zigzag, because I've been, through my career so far, I've been working in a startup sector in Estonia, back in the day when there was not even such a word like a startup, at least in Poland. It was 2010, 2011. And then I was working with NGOs. I was working at the university. I was developing NGOs. I was working in a small companies, then in also the corporate sector. I combine it with owning my own business. So and I've been switching quite often as well. But that's how it is, how it should be. I mean, it's totally fine if somebody knows from, I don't know, since they're 5 or 6 that they want to be a doctor, or, they want to be a firefighter, and that doesn't change. Great, that's awesome. Most of us don't know, and that's natural. And you will never know until you try it, because this period when you're 20 to 30, it's actually the time when you can easily switch and when you can change. And nobody told me that when I was 18. I, for example, thought that people who are 30 must be so well established, and they're definitely sure what they want to do, and they never change professions. Like, they can change jobs, right? But changing professions, something different. But turns out you do that, and it's natural. And it became my strength at some point, because, for example, with mentoring, especially, I often hear that from parents of young people I work with, or even from the educators I train, because I do trainings also for school counselors and educators, that the fact that I had the chance to have a major in psychology, so I am a psychologist, that the fact that I had the chance to work with the NGO sector, corporate sector, startup sector, and different places, kind of helps me integrate all these experiences at once and help better.
That's a lot of encouragement for me.
That's totally normal. And this is amazing how when you learn that and you see that everybody has the same problem, challenge, it's normal. It's just every year I talk to so many people who are around 30 or above 30, and they're about to switch their careers, and it's natural, and it's the best, especially if people are in their 20s. That's what they should do, because it's much better. For example, I had the situation when people were burnout. They had really serious burnout when they were in their 30s, because they were once told when they were 19 or 20 that they've chosen already their course, or they've chosen already the path. It's not worth to change. You will lose the time after, if you, for example, switch after 1 year or do something like that. And they continue with something they've chosen when they had no idea about themselves and about the world. And they end up after a few years in a point when they know that it's definitely not what they want to do, and they have no idea what else it could be. And, the consequences rise with the time, and it's much easier to switch when you're, when you don't have any other, let's say, responsibilities.
As early as possible.
Yeah, but I see now people who switch even after 40, 50. That will be the future.
So you talked about your business as well. Is it related to career planning?
Yes.
Is it Global Shapers Warsaw Hub?
Not
Something
exactly,
else?
because Global Shapers Warsaw Hub and Global Shapers itself was an organization that is an organization that now I'm alumni, because I'm not an active member anymore, but I've been for a few years. And this is something that is a very important part of my life, because it has changed my life totally on all possible levels. But also that shows how important this is to engage in social activities and to do things pro bono, even if you have your career, even if you're already graduated from the college and you're searching for people who are like you, who want to do good things in the world and who have this leadership potential. Because Global Shapers is an initiative that was established by World Economic Forum, by Klaus Schwab. Now it's, I think, around 6,000 people altogether, alumni and active members, in over 500 cities in over 150 countries. So this is a global organization that is focusing on developing young leaders and giving them say at the table. So, to be able to present in, some delegates are present at Davos, for example, but also to be able to make an impact locally. So I've been part of this community. Also, I've been leading this community as a curator back in the day. And through that, the lesson is, I think, for me, but for other people who are searching for inspiration, is that it's the best way to find new opportunities and to grow. Because if you're organized, it's not like wasting time. You're doing things which are pro bono, which make sense, but also you work with people from different backgrounds. And we all know that when you're kind of set in your ways, when you, for example, choose your career and go to a certain sector, you tend to stick to it. You tend to meet people who do similar things that you do. And it's tricky. It's awesome because you're building your network, you're specializing, but also it may narrow you a bit.
Absolutely.
And being a member of organizations such as Global Shapers gives you the perspective on how world is, because there are people from different walks of life and you can really develop and grow. So that was a part of my career, which still happens because I'm part of this community. I used to be an active member, and this is also how, where I was doing projects related to education as well.
So does it have a presence in South Asia?
Yeah, I think there is a hub in Pakistan. I don't know how are they doing now. I'm sure that there is a hub,
Right.
because even 3 hubs there should be. So you should definitely check that out,
I'll
because
check.
I've met one of the girls who were running this hub back in 2017 in Geneva when we went for training to WEF, but definitely there's one in Pakistan. There's a hub in Pakistan.
How important is getting mentorship for young people, especially who have no idea what they're going to do in life?
Yeah.
18, 19
so
years old.
important. And I think it's not only for young people, but it's despite the age, everybody should have a mentor, and everybody at some point should be a mentor. And because being, it's just in both ways, it helps you to grow. I see that if you become a mentor, you really focus on what you've learned and how you want to show it to other people and help. But if you're a mentee, so if you're, for example, let's say focus now on people who are younger, because, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what future will bring. And mentoring is not about telling you what to do. It's just about helping you grow. And it's something which is called professional friendship. So it's just about learning skills and about personal growth with someone who's been there, done that in a way. So somebody who has the skills or has the experience that you're interested in. So it's not coaching. It's not therapy. It's not consulting. It's not that they will do something for you, or you can do things with them or thanks to their guidance. So it's also about giving responsible advice, but of course always the decision is on the mentee side, whether the mentee wants to do something or not. But with all these mentors I've met throughout my life and these mentors I train, I see, and the mentees I work with, I see the best thing in mentoring is that it's just like a mirror quite often. It's very hard in these days, especially when we are surrounded with so much information that we're literally drowning, to focus on what you really want to hear and what you want to understand. And this is just like being in a moment, in a presence, here and now, and exploring options and seeing what are the challenges, what I actually want, what I expect, and maybe somebody helping me figure out how can I get it, or what should I learn, or what I already have, which is good enough, because we have this tendency, probably here is the same, at least this, I have the feeling that Polish people are masters at it, just to criticize themselves. We are never enough. We are never good enough. And
so that's good or bad?
That's a bad thing, I think, in a sense, because then you think you don't want to try, you don't want to compete because you think you're never good enough, right? You're just trying hard, not even realizing that you already have lots of
So there's a
skills and lots
term
of
for
potential.
it. I guess it's called imposter syndrome.
Yes, yeah.
I was
You're
thinking
right.
of making a video on it.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Oh, that's very popular, and that's very true. And you know how I'm really surprised with this imposter syndrome. Sorry for this anecdote, but I've been working with mentors from gaming industry, from a company CD Projekt Red, which created The Witcher. So The Witcher, you might know the game. The whole world knows The Witcher.
Heard of it.
Yeah. So they are the best people in the industry, and they are mentoring girls who are 17, who are top talents in Poland, who want to become game designers in different positions, different jobs. And these mentors have imposter syndrome. They are afraid if they're doing things right, if they're good enough. I'm like, wow, we all need some appreciation. So mentoring is really helping everyone to grow. And I think this is the tool which is one of the oldest, because it's nothing new about mentoring, but now it's being rediscovered. Now, because the world is changing so fast that we cannot manage with the general systems, with designing the system for the changing world so fast.
So you said that it's being rediscovered. When do you
Yes.
think it got lost? And why?
I don't know when it got lost, actually, but when I think about it, when I was a teenager, for example, or when I think about it even in 2014, when with my friends we were starting Mentors4Starters Foundation, or when I was learning about mentoring, it wasn't a thing. Not many organizations were there. People were mixing it with coaching. People were mixing it with training, with tutoring. And now it is...
I think it's not something institutionalized.
Yeah, well, there are institutions. You can, for example, be a certified mentor, and there are institutions who train or audit mentoring programs. But quite often it is not institutionalized. It's that you don't need to go to a certain place to get a mentor. The mentor can be your friend. The mentor can be somebody you met at the conference. The mentor can be somebody even you haven't met in person, but you've heard his podcasts or you learn from his books. But sometimes, it's great if there are organizations which provide professional mentoring where you can apply and they match you with the mentors of your choice. And these people know which mentor fits you best. And then you can solve the challenges that you have.
Is the integrated development model related to this? Because I read in your bio.
Yeah.
And it's something which you implement in mentorship.
Kind of in mentorship, but also in my practice. And this is a model that I've been thinking about for years, and I've been using it since 2016. It's something I've created when I was thinking when I was actually trying to put all these puzzles together related to things I was asking myself. So how to choose career, what is important in life, how to develop. And I like models in general. I think in structures. I'm very much structure-focused person. So when something is in bullet points or, it's in models, it's much easier for me to understand. And the way I see it, and seems it's working, I've been using it in the trainings on mentoring, but also in the individual consultations, is these 4 elements. And this development model means that there are 4 factors that you need in order to understand and consciously navigate your career and educational life. And first one is knowing yourself. So understanding your possibilities, like your advantages, your traits, your characteristics, but also your limits. So also understanding your thinking style, acting style, understanding your temperament, the skill set that you have.
Know thyself.
Natural talents.
Know thyself. I think Bacon said it. Francis Bacon. Yeah.
So kind of understanding who you are and what Gallup would call it talent, right? So what talents you have and what are your natural skills, natural traits, what you're good at. It's very important to understand it and also accept what you're not really into it, And I have to think this is actually the hardest part quite often, because it's very hard for us to allow ourselves to let go of things and to understand that we want to focus on things we can really excel at and not to the things we are kind of lacking or not good, right? So, and after you know that, it's really important. But then, okay, but another step is how to combine it with educational systems. Systems, I use that word intentionally because there are different educational systems, different schools you can go to, different countries where you can study. There are applied universities, there are research universities. There are different courses for postgrad or when you're 30 or 40 and you're switching careers. So what type of education is good for you? So how do you want to learn and what do you want to learn? These are two important questions. But great, you, for example, know already what you're good at. You know already what type of systems or courses fit you. But so what if you have no idea how to match it with the labor market? So if you have no idea what you can offer.
That's the third step.
That's the third step, exactly. So this is also seeing what comes together, like how to connect these dots. But these dots can be connected not only by you, but other people who see your potential and who can tell you, wow, you're so great at this and you've been doing this one. You can consider career in this sector, or why don't you do this and that?
And mentorship starts.
And mentorship is throughout this
step.
process. Yes, actually, you can. In my work and the way I present it is just that as a mentor or as person who's working with people, I do all these 4 steps. Because the last one step is the motivation. So actually, what you like to do? What is your Ken Robinson, which who I love, would call it element. So the thing that makes you alive, that gives you internal motivation to do things, because then you're eager to still learn these things, to go deeper and deeper, and then you're more competitive on the labor market, and then you're also using your natural skills, so it doesn't cost you that much energy, and it brings the benefit to others. So, for example, putting it in a practical example, that would be, let's say there is a person who's, great in calculating stuff and has great spatial thinking and is very good at maths. And at some point, this person decides to go for IT. Yeah, sure, there are many IT specialists needed. He or she decides to be a developer. Sure, great, can be a developer. There is a lot of potential for potential careers for developers. But what if this person really doesn't like it and has great spatial thinking, but also likes to build things, construct things? And instead, it would be better if this person would go to robotics, because it's actually different profession. And so the motivation of this person would be totally different. And you can see it because there are many people who will enjoy sitting and programming. And this will show that, hey, it's not something that this person really enjoys. Instead, he or she would be in a lab, constructing, using the same skills technically, but in a different setting, right? So that is why it's important. That's what this model is about.
The innovation and startup culture of Poland.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brief description of it. And afterwards, we'll move to why is it important for a country?
Mm-hmm. Poland is growing market for startups, definitely. There are over, as far as I remember, 3,000 startups. And there's the whole scene where you can actually develop, and also the infrastructure itself is growing. There are many factors related to that, especially the ones that require first the investment. Because startups in Poland, even though the pandemic hit, even though now what I hear, because I work with them, I'm not owning a startup. I just work with people, and I know people who are in this sector really, really deep. They say it's harder with investments, right? It's harder for investors now to invest in startups.
I need to make a clarification. Yeah. So the term startup is so in the popular lingo these days
Yeah.
that it's misunderstood.
Yes, you're right.
How do you define a startup? Is it necessary to have an investment? We call it seeding something.
Yeah, seeds.
Venture capital.
Yeah, or VC.
So is that an integral part of a startup,
At some
or anything, or is technology an integral part of a startup, or anything is a startup? It's a very common term these days.
Yes, I have the feeling that people use word startup for whatever they do.
Yeah.
And
Having
if
to
they are
start-
owning a bakery, it's
Yeah.
also a startup.
Yeah.
And if they're building a tech-related app, it's also a startup. How I understand it and how I see it from the discussions happening in various forums, startups, there are key factors for startup. First, there is some part of innovation happening, that there is also high level of risk. So there is a risk that it may not work.
Yeah.
This is a very fragile, actually, structure at the beginning. And there is also a potential for new technology to emerge, but also something to scale. So something that it can be built and can grow and have a potential to be sold, but also to serve more and more people. So scalability and the risk is high. It's quite common trail for many startups. And also using digital tools, technology to leverage, to change the behaviors. For example, to, think, because their bakery can be also a startup if they, for example, come up with, I don't know, the fact that you just go online and you mix your own ingredients and they bake the bread for you, right? This is new business model. It quite often requires new business models or new approaches to old topics or the new topics.
And I think solving a problem is another characteristic.
Yes. That you're usually, when I was at the Web Summit 2 years ago in Lisbon, which is like the biggest actually in the gathering of startups there, and this whole community, the way they pitch, the way you talk about the product is always, how does it serve certain needs? How does it solve client's problem, and who's your client, right?
How important is it for an economy in this era to have this culture of solving problems, of taking risks, of scaling up and using technology, the entire startup culture for an economy?
Yeah, I think it cannot actually develop without it, to be honest, because the world now is changing so much that, for example, when you have the old models are kind of finished, the corporate sector is also limited. Even the corporates work with startups a lot. So to be able to make good use of the technologies that emerge to actually respond to the problems and the questions that are happening in a very fast pace, in a very agile way, having this culture when you're okay with trying, because this is a lot about trying and trying in practice, and what quite often people who know a lot about startups say, failing fast. So if you need to fail fast, and that's okay with failing. So it's okay with making mistakes, because then you learn something new. So this is also, giving the chance for young talents, but also very experienced people to create new things.
So do you think there are certain factors that incentivize the production of such a culture in a nation?
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately a society's culture determines what sort of economy it produces.
It depends a lot on the society, I think, definitely.
Comparing Poland with, let's say, Pakistan.
I don't know if I know enough about Pakistan. How would you describe the startups? Do you know a lot? How does it work here?
It's growing at a gradual pace, but in my opinion, as per my knowledge, there is a certain hesitation towards taking risks because people can't afford taking risks. Already there is certain economic insecurity going on in the country, and that I guess discourages people from
definitely
throwing a lot of money into something, but there are many things that are going on.
There is a lot of talent in Poland, especially in tech, because we become, for example, now Intel has opened huge factory also in Poland, which is one of the biggest in the world. And there are many people who are interested in IT, who are interested in technology, and there is a lot of talent that, you know, it's not also as expensive, let's say, as in the Western Europe or Western countries. And another thing is that also there's something that, because Polish people, I don't know if we like risk, but we like to be creative and think about things. We always think how to change things. It's we even have this saying in Polish that we like to figure things out, which in Polish is kombinowanie, whatever. And so we like to try to new things, but also the fact that there's great support from the various programs which are funded by European Union. So if you have a good idea, if you have a team, and even if you're at the very beginning, you might apply, and you might get the funds for starting. And it's not always about the money, because it's also, you can think about MVP and some kind of product that is just the proof of concept, the pilot or whatever. But with the mentorship, with the guidance, with the infrastructure, and with the money that you can get not only from the private investors, but also from the public funds, which, thanks to European Union, are also vast. I think it's that's why it's so growing.
Supportive government.
Yes,
the most important.
Supportive government as well. Supportive, even the universities. Most of the universities now, I know, they are opening their own startup hubs. So they are trying to teach their students, already giving them experience or even giving them some small funds to try to create some products. Or universities creating alliances, which I think is really great, together, where they gather their own researchers and they create an environment for these researchers to work or with corporations on developing products, patents, and that's how these startups emerge. So I think this is a very important factor.
Moving to innovation and technology, and I'm very interested for the fifth version, fifth section, corporate innovation culture. But before that, there is innovation and technology, the fourth section that you have an expertise in. When you mentioned women in tech movement, so I read a few things on it to understand the gravity of this topic. Is it a fact that the tech industry is inhospitable for women?
I think it's changing for better, for sure. There are many things that are going well now, but as far as I experienced, it's been challenging, and it is. And I had the chance to, and I had the privilege to work with the organization in Poland, Perspektywy Educational Foundation, which created Perspektywy Women in Tech conference. And I had the chance to be a chief coordinator of this conference for its first 3 editions. And now it's gathering over 8,000 people every year, women coming to learn about technology. And also there are many reports and statistics that Perspektywy show on the general landscape of technology and the situation of women in tech. And I think that there are 2 things which are major. One is that there still are not enough skilled people who are great labor force in IT and tech in general. This is growing industry. Even though there were massive layoffers last year by Meta, Google, and other companies, still there, at least the statistics from World Economic Forum or Deloitte say that in Europe there will be thousands of hundreds of people needed soon in specialized tech areas. Therefore, that means if you're not including women, you're losing 50% of your potential in the country. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense to make it exclusive or think that men are better in maths or science because they're men, because there are no there are no psychological evidence to back up this idea. It's not true. Actually, before laptops, like at the beginning where computers were discovered, the women were programmers. Women were the ones who were really good at it. Women were the ones who were working in the factories during the World War II, but they were also engineers. So it's not there is a great movie. Have you watched Hidden Figures? It's Hidden Figures, a movie based on facts. It's about Cold War and when NASA wanted to put men on the moon, and it's a story about 3 women engineers working in NASA, and that's a real story. I don't do any spoilers. I recommend you watch it, but it just perfectly shows that it's nothing new. Women should be there, and they were always there, but they were not allowed to break the ceiling, the glass ceiling, take certain positions. And as I mentioned, the economy grows. We have lack of talents. We need to teach people tech. We need to reskill and upskill many people. And if we are not including everyone, then we're losing a lot of potential. So, for example, in Poland, throughout these years, the percentage of women who are studying at technical or STEM-related courses has risen, and that means 26% of girls choose now to go to STEM-related courses or IT, but still, in the general statistics, it's less than 20% in some courses. Like biochemistry, for example, there are more women. In IT, there is 50-50 when you think about the class and the gender. But mechatronics, robotics, etc., still it's more men-oriented. So the more role models you have of both genders, the better for the industry and the people itself. And quite often when we are asked, for example, during the conference, why we're organizing something for women, why not for men? It's not, including everyone. Of course, it's not true because men are there present, of course. That's not a problem. A second thing is, it's just like, imagine if the future of work or the future of basically our life would be, I don't know, pedagogy, for example, and teaching at schools. And that would be the best job in the world, which will be just constantly growing. There would have to be initiatives for men because it's usually female-dominated sector. Or nurses, if nurses were needed just as an IT specialist or AI specialist or programmers, you would need to encourage more men to go into these because naturally they didn't choose it for various reasons, right? So it's just being very practical to have this diversity, especially with AI, when the AI is as good as we are teaching it, as we are developing it. So you have to include all the perspective, all the genders, all the colors, all the, neurodiversities as well, because otherwise it's going to be very, very biased and we are all going to lose.
And with expertise in AI, the result would be a concentration of power in one group, and that would may marginalize the other groups. So I guess the perception that men are better in STEM is the primary culprit. So I have a friend, and she is perhaps let's say there are 100 people in the class out of 100%, so 10% are girls. And that is something over here as well, that STEM is mostly tilted towards males. Yeah. So that's, I guess, the perception can be blamed.
Yeah, exactly. And when you think about this, when you look at the studies shows that actually girls and boys develop exactly the same in terms of, STEM or maths or numeric skills whatsoever, and they're the same till some point. And it's around when they become teenagers, it starts to differentiate. And it's not because girls become worse suddenly or something like that. It's because of the social norms and how people are starting to develop. And this approach is just about letting people use their own potential to the fullest. Doesn't matter what gender you are, and doesn't matter what you want to achieve, and where were you born, who are you. It's just, if you're really good at something, then you're good at something, and your gender shouldn't stop you from that.
And that's where mentorship, I think, comes in.
Yes, that's very important then, because if you see role models, if you see people who are good at things and they've done it, and they were the, kind of pioneers in a sense, it has a massive impact. And I've seen it over the years, organizing the conference, talking to many women in tech, reading the statistics. That's become kind of a global trend.
Moving to the fifth section, corporate innovation cultures.
The corporate and startup, the things I can observe more from my perspective working in a corporate in innovation is that how corporates engage with startups. And this is very interesting to see, because this is something that you have to do at some point to grow your economy and develop, because corporates as such are too massive, too huge to be agile, to change their processes fast enough, especially, for example, in the energy sector, when things, because of the environmental situation, global warming, are changing, and therefore you need to implement new technologies to be able to kind of face this challenge. And the corporate itself, usually they have their policies, they're massive, and they will always be existing, right? They're always there. But thanks to the startups, and thanks to the research and development options, and thanks to the fact that they can work with academia, they can invest in new technologies. They can, for example, work smarter with companies who are startups, who provide technologies, and they work in fast pace, and therefore they create together new products, they launch new products, they pilot various solutions, they check the market faster. So it's not that corporation has to create solutions on its own. Sometimes it can invest in the startup through building a VC or buying a startup or doing a joint project where you share the profit and you introduce something to the market. So the corporation can give you a scale and can give you an access to client and testing your technology faster. At the same time, corporation gets the product, gets expertise, but just to make that happen, it's a lot of effort also, and it's very important to understand that it's different. They're in different pace. That usually it has to be somehow adapted. Some best practices are needed. How much time it takes, for example, to decide on crucial things, on things related to legal, on things related to technology, to share the tasks, to monitor it. But also it gives people who work in corporate sector new, fresh ideas and the ability to be kind of entrepreneurs, even if they are full-time employees. So to take the initiative and also to contribute, not only do the same things all the time. And therefore, this whole culture, in terms of economics and society as well, because then the socio-economic situation is also changing, then everybody benefits from that, right? So this is a trend I've been seeing recently, that big companies are not still afraid of working with small organizations or the ones which are high risk, which startups are. But it's more natural, especially in the technology, in the industry, hard industry sectors, because then you can be more competitive. And then you can actually test some things or easier, or have an access to resources or labs that you don't own.
So the elders, in other words, the elders are helping the youngers to grow, and the youngers are helping the elders to modernize through innovation,
in a sense.
startup.
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
corporate.
In a sense, yes. But it's like everybody's learning from everyone. It's just the processes are different. Startups work in a totally different environment. Usually, you don't have to wait a long time to get a decision. Usually, the structure is really plain and really not very, specialized, not hierarchical. There's not a lot of hierarchy in terms of startups. It's just a flat structure. Corporates are usually very much about hierarchy systems. Every department, it's about their own, goals, and they have their own KPIs. So there has to be, it's like a huge machine. So to kind of go together and to build something together, it requires a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding from both sides, but also understanding business and the client needs. Because when you understand the client needs, you know what's important, what the market wants, and what are the needs in terms of developing the business and the products that you both wanna do. Then you know how you can fit and how you can actually try to work out. So even though you're very different, even though you have different methods, you can achieve your goal.
We were talking about the fact that you like to think in design.
Yeah.
Which brings me to service design.
Yeah.
What would be the description of this term?
Service design is more of a description of the way you approach things, the way you approach new challenges, products, or projects in a more agile way, and in a way that it's focusing on the persona, on the client, and the problem you want to solve, and brainstorming, and then trying to figure out the best possible options for that. So it's designing services, but it can be also, thinking in terms of products, of how to make it work and how to actually respond to certain needs using various tools like value Canva, various models, business models, but also, creating personas, exploring options, learning about your user, what this user wants, what actually are the insights, what causes the problem. So that helps you to think in more agile way and not really fixed. And then you go in sprints. So you go through certain stages, you discover, you design things, you check if they work.
Design thinking, is it similar?
Yes,
because I have
design and
heard
design
about
thinking
this
are
term a lot. Design thinking. I have been trying to explore it,
yeah, it's
but not in detail.
I can send you some materials.
Yeah. So what would be the?
It's quite often it's used as synonym kind of a thing, and design thinking is just a method that you also use, right? And in general in service design in this approach. So to help you, for example, IDEO as an organization, which is really great at that, and using service design as a tool. So this tool helps to, for example, integrate different perspectives, which is perfect for people who are from different backgrounds, who are, for example, from business, from finance, from legal perspective, engineers, together to focus on a solution which will be dedicated to solve clients' problem. And then you can also work with the people who are your future clients who really are experiencing this challenge, and you can get the insight from them. So this is about creation, this is about innovation, and this is about thinking out of the box in a way that it's facilitated, it's organized, but it leaves a lot to creativity, and it leaves a lot of space to innovate and to try.
Moving to the fun section now, Pakistan, all about Pakistan. First of all, you mentioned that you have visited for the third time.
Yes, I'm third time here.
And when was the first time?
2018, January.
What was the first impression when you landed? When you came to Islamabad?
Wow, first impression that it was cold. I've heard that, it's going to be so warm, it was going to be so easy, but it wasn't. Because, sometimes you think that being in Europe is tough because if you live in a country where it's snow or where you have winter, it's hard to survive. But I don't feel like that because then, you have central heating everywhere and it's like natural. And in the countries, I'm not telling only about Pakistan, but I experienced the same thing in Italy, for example, in the winter. The countries which don't really have much winter and snow, they're not designed in a way, sometimes it's actually colder, at least to me. So that struck me that I was like, it's pretty cold. That was the first impression, and the fact how huge this country is, because before that, I have to say that I didn't know much about Pakistan. That's why I love really traveling, and the fact that I can explore different cultures. So how vast the country is, how diverse the country is, it was mind-blowing. So to see everything, every side of the country, all its faces, was something really, really new. And the fact that, Europe is, when you think about Europe, it's really small in a sense, that even though Poland is one of the biggest countries in Europe, in European Union, you can really, it's just a matter literally of 2 hours, and you go to a totally another place, different culture, different people, right? So it's very easy to travel.
Very interconnected.
Yeah, yes, and Pakistan is so vast that if you want to go, for example, to Karachi from here, right, you have to take a plane. So it's and at the same time, the country is so diverse in terms of people, in terms of nature, that it was really amazing to see.
And things you specifically like about Pakistan?
What I like about Pakistan, what I see is something which is very amazing, and it's something that Polish people also have, but I have the feeling here it's too extreme, is how hospitable you are. It's the culture, the people, it's amazing how hospitable you are as people, as a country. So I always feel really welcomed. People I don't know hug me. It's the openness. It's really great, right?
But there's another side to it. They are hospitable to some, but they are not hospitable to everyone.
Oh, really? I'm the lucky one then.
It's a fact.
Oh, really? I don't know. And I'm the lucky one because my experience is that's it's amazing how hospitable people are here.
We can talk in detail.
Yeah,
Recording
I'd be really, really interested in perspective. Then the landscapes and the nature. Recently, I was able to explore a bit of Margala Hills here and the Trail of 5. And even things close to Islamabad are beautiful. Some friends of mine went hiking next to the border with Afghanistan and, that in the north, and they loved it. I'm really waiting for that experience too. And the nature itself, amazing. And also what I think I don't know if that many people know that, but, Pakistan has amazing textiles, and when I look at these colors of the clothes and the design, it's so nice and very colorful. And I have to say that I'm quite often integrating it with my local, let's say, fashion. Like that's how I look when I go to work in Warsaw. And sometimes I just wear a kameez, from Pakistan with my trousers or some piece of jewelry. And always people ask me, "Oh, that's so pretty. Where is that from?" Or the shawl, because this is really, really amazing. These were the things I really enjoyed, and also the exploring the historical sides of it and museums, and how rich this countries in terms of culture and history as striking.
Lastly, you don't know about Pakistan much detail. You have visited it, you might have studied it, but to the extent that you have studied it, what do you think Pakistan as a society, as an economy, and as a government, as a political culture, can learn from Poland or Europe?
When I think about it, there are three things that come to my mind. One is something that we already touched upon, is the role of women and how and their role in the workplace, because also because of our previous system, and in general, people in Poland, women in Poland are very, very independent, and they always have their professional job, which is actually sometimes we do much more in this sense, because we do take care of the house, right? If somebody has the kids, then they take care of the kids. But they do have their careers, and they are really, really present in the workplace. They are CEOs, they get the managerial positions. So the balance, gender balance, and opportunities are something that I really, really like about Europe and Poland. And also when it comes, for example, to managing the life balance with their partners. So Polish men are also very much now, I think it's changing. It wasn't like that before, but now they are really, really engaged in, being a father. So there is such a thing like maternity leave and paternity leave,
Yeah.
like, in Poland. So as a father, you also have weeks off, and you just take care of, you can even take a year off. And so this is something I'm really see as a great thing. I haven't seen that much here yet. Another thing I really, really like, and I got used to it, and I think it's cool if it's implemented, is the public transport and the way you move between the cities, because I think it's you really have to be brave to drive here.
Yes.
So I'm not that yet, but what I really, really enjoy, for example, in Warsaw, and Poland has only 48 million people, and Warsaw is 2 million something, but there are metro lines, there are trams, buses, and or you can get an Uber easily. So you can be independent with your travel. It's very easy to travel from one place to another. And actually, Poland in Warsaw is quite unique in this sense as well. It's not like everywhere in Europe is like that, but I enjoy that a lot when I think about it.
So driving in Pakistan is actually funny.
Well, it is. Depends on who you are.
And
It can be adventurous, right? Let's say it can be adventurous.
So you never get bored while driving. You're always excited. You have to avoid this bump on the road.
Oh yeah.
And there's a person with a bike who'll just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting thing to do.
Yeah. It's just like you're feeling like you're in some, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto or something.
Yeah, playing a game.
You're really mastering your skills then, and being really agile. So to be honest, it's not on my nerves. But that's why I would love to have a public transport here.
Anything else?
I'm thinking, that I think Polish people have very good work ethic. That's something I really enjoy. So that's it.
I'm personally interested in these things very much, work ethics and stuff. Can you name 3-4 things, habits that fall in the definition of work ethics? Punctuality, let's say, for example.
Work ethic, okay. Professional attitude. Responsibility. So if you take a challenge, if you take a task, then you do it no matter what. Honesty. Expertise. So you it's like this Japanese mindset, right? When you're really mastering something and you're really good at that. So
trying to be good at
yes,
whatever you do.
whatever you do. Yeah, because it doesn't matter whether you're, you know, carpenter or IT architect or whatever, right? It's just at the end, every skill is needed, everybody's needed, and at the end, it's important that you enjoy what you do and other people enjoy what you do because you do it well.
Chale, that's it. I have many more points to discuss, but we are so much
Over time.
out of time. Yes. So maybe when you visit next time, we can have another conversation.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
a part of the conversation.
Thank you, and I wish you all the best with your podcast, and I adore it, and I'm really happy that you're doing it. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you for watching the short video.
Yeah, and I've been watching also the longer ones, which are not in Urdu. Finally, when I learn the language, I will, you know, catch up on everything. Probably before AI will do that for me, so I will just watch it with subtitles or with a AI voice in English or maybe Polish, because I've heard that there are already systems like that and applications like that again actually
They're doing that, yes.
transfer whatever podcast you have into whatever language you want.
Yes.
Technology is amazing.
Chale. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.